Good evening and welcome to ABC Evening News. This is Ron Burgundy. Today we have a special event planned. As a flashback of the Roaring '20s, we've stored video clips of the three Republican presidents of that era. First up is Hardy. Enjoy.
My countrymen, when one surveys the world about him after the great storm, noting the marks of destruction and rejoicing in the ruggedness of things which it once withstood. If he is an American, he breathes the clarified atmosphere with a strange mingling of regret and new hope. We have seen a world of passion, spent its fury, but we contemplate our republic unshaken, and hold our civilization secure. Liberty within law, and civilization are inseparable, and though both were threatened, we find them now secure. And there comes to Americans the profound assurance that our representative government is the highest expression and surest guarantee of both. Standing in this presence, mindful of the solemnity of this occasion, feeling the emotions which no one may know until he senses great weight of responsibility, I must utter my belief in the divine inspiration of the founding fathers. Surely there must have been God's intent in making one of the new world republics. Ours is no organic law, which had once been ambiguity, and we saw effaced in it in a baptism of sacrifice in our own blood. With the Union maintained and the nation supreme, its concord inspiring, we have seen the world rivet in its hopeful gaze, and the great truths verified in its glory. In the beginning of the World War, scoffed at our experiment, today our foundations of political and social belief stand unshaken. A precious inheritance to ourselves, an inspiring example of freedom, civilization, and mankind. Let us express the renewed and strengthened devotion and grateful reverence for the emotional beginning, and utter our confidence in the supreme fulfillment. Our eyes never will be blind to developing menace. Our eyes never deaf to call the civilization. We recognize the new order of the world with closer contacts with the progress that was thought. We sense the call of human heart for the fellowship, fraternity, and cooperation. We have friendship and brotherhood, no hate. In America, our America, the building on our foundation, laid by inspired fathers, can be party to opponent military alliance. It can enter into no political commitments and assume any economic obligations, which will subject our decision to any other man or authority. Thank you.
Next up, Coolidge.
No one can contemplate current conditions without finding much that is satisfying and still more that is encouraging. Our own country is leading the world in the general readjustment to the results of the great conflict. Many of its burdens will bear heavily upon us for years, and the secondary and indirect effects we must expect to experience for some time. But we are beginning to comprehend more definitely what course should be pursued, what remedies ought to be applied, what actions should be taken for our deliverance, and are clearly manifesting a determined will faithfully and conscientiously to adopt these methods of relief. Already we have sufficiently rearranged our domestic affairs so that confidence has returned, business has revived, and we appear to be entering an era of prosperity, which is gradually reaching into every part of the nation. Realizing that we cannot live into ourselves alone, we have contributed to our resources and our counsel to the relief of the suffering and the settlement of the disputes among the European nations. Because of what America is and what America has done, a firmer courage, a higher hope, inspires the heart of all humanity. We stand at the opening of 150th year since our national conscience first asserted itself by unmistakable action with an array of force. The old sentiment of detached independent colonies disappeared in the new sentiment of a united independent nation. Men began to discard the narrow confines of a local charter for the broader opportunities of a national constitution. Under the eternal age of freedom, we become an independent nation. A little less than 50 years later, that freedom and independence was reasserted in the face of all the world and guarded, supported, and secured by the Monroe Doctrine. The narrow fringe of states along the Atlantic seaboard advances its frontiers across the hills and plains of an intervening continent until it passed down the Golden Slope to the Pacific. We made freedom at birthright. We extended our domain over distant islands in order to safeguard our own interests and accepted the consequent obligation to bestow justice and liberty upon less favored people. In the defense of our own ideals and in the general cause of liberty, we entered the Great War. When victory had been fully secured, we withdrew to our own shores, uncompensated, save in consciousness of duty alone. I am Calvin Coolidge. Thank you.
Last but not least, President Hoover.
Countrymen, after the war, when the Republican Party assumed administration of the country, we were faced with the problem of determination of the very nature of our national life. During 150 years, we've built up a form of self-government and a social system which is peculiarly our own. It differs essentially from all others in the world. It is the American system. It is just as definite and positive a political and social gem that has ever been developed on Earth. It is founded upon a particular conception of self-government, in which the decentralized local responsibility is the very base. Further than this, it is founded upon the conception that only through ordered liberty, freedom, and equal opportunity to the individual will his initiative and enterprise spur on the march of progress. And in our insistence of equality of opportunity has our system advanced beyond all the world. During the war, we necessarily turned to the government to solve any difficult economic problem. The government having absorbed every energy of our people for war, there is no solution. For the preservation of the state, the federal government became a centralized despotism, which undertook unprecedented responsibilities, assumed autocratic powers, and took over the business of citizens. To a large degree, we regimented our whole people temporarily into a socialistic state. However, justified in time of war, if continued in peacetime, it would destroy not only the American system, but with it our progress and freedom as well. The Republican Party from the beginning, resolutely turned its face away from these ideas and these war practices. When the Republican Party came into full power, it went at once resolutely back to our fundamental conception of the state and the rights and responsibilities of the individual. Thereby, it restored confidence and hope in the American people. It freed the stimulated enterprise and restored the government to its position as an umpire instead of a player in the economic game. For these reasons, the American people have gone forward in progress, while the rest of the world has halted, and some countries have even gone backwards. If anyone will study the causes of retarded recuperation in Europe, he will find much of it due to stifling of private initiative on one hand, and the overloading of the government and business to the other. Thank you.
I heard the books in the back.
Oh.
Good evening, and welcome to ABC Evening News. This is Ron Burgundy. Today we have a special... Wait, do I start now?
Standing in his presence, mindful of solemnity of this occasion, feeling the emotions. You guys do it.
Our eyes never will be blind to a developing menace. Our ears never.